Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the GI Justin channel. Man, I have got some stories to talk about with y'all today. It seems like every day that I'm ready to talk some more about the prepping stuff, the entire world decides to go crazy. And now we're going to talk about some news. I don't know if you guys have been following what's going on both here and abroad, but we are in some of the craziest times that I think I've seen in my entire life, aside from when Corona was here. I don't understand. Man, what happened to like relative peace? Good Lord, things are going crazy. So I feel kind of like I'm going to be like Walter Cronkite up here. That's the way it was. Because there's so much to talk about with stuff here at home and stuff in Ukraine and China. It's like the world is just coming apart. So don't worry though, I'm here to help you break it down. So first big piece of news today, which is of course, as always, out of the state of Florida. Ron DeSantis signed a bill basically ending Disney's self-governing power and putting the media giant under the control of a state board. Now, the thing that's crazy about that, so in the 1960s, I'm going to go ahead and read the verbatim here. Since the 1960s, they've enjoyed privileges unlike any company or individual in the state of Florida has ever enjoyed, he said in a conference. They had exemptions from laws that everyone else had to follow. They were able to get huge amounts of benefits without paying their fair share of taxes. Before signing the legislation, he told attendees to check their watches so that they know what time the corporate kingdom came to an end. Man, I love that guy, right? So really, the deal is, if you've been watching Disney for a while now, they have really taken a very far left stance when it comes to a lot of what they're doing. A lot of the children's Disney movies have characters that may be a little more questionable in their orientation, and there's an episode of a show called The Prouds, and basically it's borderline anti-white rhetoric. I mean, it pushes both critical race theory and anti-white politics, which, say what you will about the situation with race in America right now, I don't think Disney is the freaking platform for this. You know, they are supposed to be the apolitical, wholesome, I can throw a movie on for my 7-year-old and not worry that she is going to maybe see some things that a 7-year-old should not be made aware of. And that's where Disney has slowly been creeping for quite a while now. So back to Riverboat Ron DeSantis here, just gambling away and getting ready for the White House. How do you give one theme park its own government and then treat all the other theme parks differently? So we believe that was not a good policy, and we believe that being joined at the hip with this one California-based company is not something justifiable or sustainable, adding that Disney will be treated like SeaWorld or any other theme park in the state. The House bill, which basically refers to where Disney is housed, may only have term-limited members who are not recent employees or contracted by Disney in the last 3 years, which is nice. I mean, you get back into the discussion of getting away from these lobbies and all the groups that have the almighty dollar to influence how they're going to do business. My signature will also end Disney's exemption from Florida Building Code and Fire Prevention Code. It will end Disney's exemption from state regulatory reviews and approval. We have people that want to see Disney for what Walt Disney envisioned, DeSantis said. Now, here's where the interesting play comes into this. So a lot of the people that are major shareholders in Disney, like BlackRock and Vanguard and these other massive hedge fund companies, have all made it known that they are very displeased with this. So I'm really curious to see what it says here. So the former CEO of Disney told shareholders that he had called DeSantis on March 9th to urge him not to sign the bill, which restricts schools from teaching gender and sexuality to children kindergarten through 3rd grade. I called Governor DeSantis to express our disappointment and concern that this legislation becomes law. It will be used to unfairly target gay, lesbian, and non-binary and transgender children. According to the report from the New York Post, this guy has privately expressed his hesitancy to involve the company in the political issues in Florida, the home of Disney World, in months prior, but the pressure came from within Disney and from Democrats nationwide, ultimately convincing him to take a stand. Y'all, tell me what you think about this. I mean, is this not the craziest thing ever. Why? Why does Disney have to get involved in non-binary and transgender children? Children are children. They're kids. They don't think in these ways. It is us as adults and companies like this that are creating this uneasiness amongst kids as to what their orientation is. When I was 7, 8, 10 years old, I'm not like, I maybe know sex. Like, no, I didn't care. All I cared about was playing basketball and having fun and making sure that I got home before the light was out outside. Where is all this coming from? Like, do you guys know? Because I just don't understand where this whole idea of unfair targeting of gay, lesbian, non-binary, and transgender kids comes from. Like, why, Disney? Why can you not just make kid-friendly movies? Like, remember when the big crisis with Disney was them sneaking in like all kinds of inappropriate crap into like Aladdin and stuff like that? Like, what up, man? That was almost funny. Like, okay, we can live in that world, but what is this crap? Like, I just don't understand. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. So throw some comments and tell me what you think about this Disney thing, because it is total madness. Okay, so that's topic number 1. Now we're going to roll right into topic number 2, which is, of course, the war in Ukraine. Man, the last 48 hours have been crazy. So first thing is, it's totally notional and not important. It's fake to make the international community happy, but China came out and basically called on Russia to end the war, basically saying it's not good for anybody, which is total crap, because last week they just went into a friendship pact with them, saying they'd formed unbreakable bonds and were going to provide non-lethal aid to Russia. So yeah, total crap there, but it appears we've been waiting for this Russian offensive. They've been planning and moving dudes into place for this big springtime offensive, because it has been freezing cold in Ukraine and they haven't had the ability to really lodge an offensive using the old crappy equipment they already have on top of the freezing cold temperatures. So basically it looks like they're hitting eastern and western Ukraine, but the forces continue to hold their ground in the contested areas. Apparently Russian convoys, which are elite infantry units, are being downgraded and destroyed by these Ukrainian artillery and long-range fire units like MLRS, which are rocket systems that we have provided them with, and making it basically the point where these elite units have nothing left but conscripts and inexperienced soldiers. We'll go back to a quote here. The lack of experience is almost certainly exacerbating Russian officers' tendency to micromanage, which reduces operational agility, the British Ministry of Defense cited. They've been tasked with some of the toughest tactical missions in the war and suffered extremely high casualties. Ukrainian officials also report unsuccessful Russian offensives in the northern, eastern, and western parts of the country, which would make sense because to the south is water, so there's that. Ukrainian troops shot down 3 unmanned aerial vehicles, attacked a Russian command post, radar station, and multiple other important locations. At the leading edge of this, the Russians have gone back to the Russian steamroller, which is them just leveling everything. They blow up buildings, houses. They don't care what's in the way. They're just going to drop, it's called creeping artillery fire. And what that means, we're going to use the back of my paper here as an example. They'll start the barrage right here and just slowly continue to walk it forward, destroying everything in its path. So, Russia launched 14 missiles and 19 airstrikes over the weekend, and Ukraine responded with 12 airstrikes, which, let's go back to the beginning. The fact that Russia does not have air superiority is shocking. I mean, no one could go back in time and say, wow, look, Russia has completely failed with its gigantic military to stop the Ukrainian Air Force. So, total madness. So the Russian Ministry of Defense says it's destroyed 2 armored vehicles and 2 vehicles and killed 60 troops in its offensive so far. Vladimir Putin said Russia has taken into consideration the nuclear capabilities of NATO during its invasion, following its announcement that it was going to pull out of its new nuclear reduction treaty. Amid today's conditions, as all leading NATO countries have announced our strategic defeat as their key goal for making our people suffer, as they put it, how cannot we consider their nuclear potential amid this environment? Putin told Russian state television. So, another great big story. He's basically dialing his way back from this strategy that we had along with them of dismantling and decreasing our nuclear weapons. So again, another tick closer to doomsday, as they say, because they're going to start building more and more nuclear weapons on top of everything else they have. More interesting news out of Ukraine, if this wasn't enough. Thermobaric rocket launchers are being blown up. So the Russians have this weapon that is borderline a war crime in a lot of people's eyes. It's called a TOS-1 or TOS-1 Alpha. It's a thermobaric rocket launcher. And what these things do is it shoots a rocket, and at a predetermined altitude above the ground, the rocket explodes. But when it explodes in two stages. The first stage, as it comes down, explodes and releases a fuel-air mixture that's basically like a highly, highly flammable substance, and allows it to spread in this huge cloud. And as it spreads in this huge cloud, the second stage ignites fire and turns that entire aerosol area into a massive overpressure and flame situation. So up close, it causes an intense blast wave, which will actually crush your lungs and your brain, which is totally terrible. Further out, the overpressure can break bones, dislocate eyes, cause internal hemorrhaging, rupture eardrums, bowels, and other organs. Super fun, right? Doesn't that sound terrible? Thing that's crazy about this process and what we're seeing over the course of this entire war, and I think part of the reason why Russia is so unwilling to give up, as we are sending them weapons and money to fight this war, what they're giving us in exchange is something we can't easily get. And that is access to this frontline Russian equipment. Here's a perfect example. They showed these two destroyed TOS-1 Alphas. What's happening is when Ukraine takes this territory, they're shuffling this gear to the rear, putting it on cargo planes and sending it to us so that we can reverse engineer this equipment and learn from it. There's this airplane called the Su-35M. It is the frontline, top of the line, other than the Su-57 stealth fighter that they have, that has this long-range infrared targeting system. Well, as these things get shot down, if they're recoverable, the Ukrainians are recovering these targeting systems along with these advanced weapons and giving them to us so that we can figure out how to defeat them. And I think that is why you're seeing so much Russian equipment that is top line not being used, and why you're seeing these old style tanks from the 1960s being shuffled to the front, because they don't want any more of this high level equipment to be, for lack of a better word, like I said, reverse engineered by us. So that's a kind of crazy thing. Do you guys think this is something we should continue doing? I mean, are we making more enemies than we should be by basically helping Ukraine the way we are? Should we continue to fund them unlimited amounts of money and deplete our stockpiles of weapons in exchange for all this equipment and all this knowledge that we're gaining and testing out some of our new weapon systems? I think the answer is yes. I think we do continue to go along with this. I mean, Russia can't keep it up. There's no way. There's no way they're going to be able to continue this. Even though Vladimir Putin is still confident that they can just grind Ukraine down and grind them and grind them and grind them down to the point that they won't be worth a crap to anybody. But I don't see that happening. I really don't. I think that in the end, it's going to hit a point where enough world leaders are going to be like, all right, man, enough's enough. It's been over a year. Let's cut this off. Because one of the things that China is doing, even though they're calling for the end of all this, is they're providing ways around the sanctions for Russia. They're entering into these gas deals and these pipeline deals and shuttling all this money. But at the same time, China does not want that to come to light, because we will sanction them, and their economy runs on American dollars. I mean, you look at the trade deficit we have with them, the amount of money that they make off of what we do would be unsustainable. So, which brings us to the final topic for the day, as I sit here reading my papers, China. So, China is accusing the U.S. of threatening peace and stability in Taiwan after a USPA Poseidon maritime airplane traveled through the region Monday. The declaration comes as Beijing says it has sovereign rights jurisdiction over the waters separating its mainland from Taiwan, but the U.S. and the island argue it's an international waterway. The U.S.'s actions deliberately interfere with and disrupt the regional situation and endangered peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. We firmly oppose this. Theater forces remain on high alert at all times and resolutely defend national sovereignty and territorial integrity. The thing they don't say in all this is when they did this, they flew one of their fighter jets within 500 feet of our Poseidon airplane, which is the big four-engine, I think it's four-engine still, propeller plane that basically, it's a spy plane. It is. Maritime patrol, sure, but it's got a lot of really cool sensors and all kinds of crazy stuff on it. The problem I see here is how long before something happens. One of these pilots decides maybe he wants to crowd a plane off course and bumps it, killing them both. Are American families going to allow that to happen? Are we going to be calling for, hey, hit them back? And then there we go. We're in World War III with China, all over Taiwan and some stuff like that. So I think it's really, stability-wise, I think the world is in a very difficult spot right now. We've got a whole lot of fires that we need put out, and I think the U.S. government needs to step its game up and get this stuff under control, because if it doesn't, it's only going to get worse. And if that continues to happen, how are we going to manage this? If you haven't watched the videos that I've already made a couple times talking about our military and its weakness, I'm going to link a playlist that's going to show you guys, if you haven't seen them already, the problems our U.S. military is having with just adding new soldiers, let alone keeping soldiers we already have. How are we going to fight all these people? What are we going to do? We don't have a robust military anymore, and they've stripped the budget down for training to the point where the guys we do have are not even fully qualified to do their missions, let alone kicking Navy SEALs out who have no interest in getting the vaccine, that are perfectly fine, good fighting soldiers. So thank you guys so much for watching today. I really appreciate your time and sticking with me through my 17 minutes of my Walter Cronkite impression. So we're definitely going to get back to some more of this prepping stuff as soon as time permits, and we quit having all these world things happen every single day. So did a really cool live stream with my wife yesterday. So if you guys haven't had a chance to catch that one, we discuss some pretty cool topics about current events going on in the world as well. So I encourage you to go back and watch that one too. And just like I say all the time, if you guys haven't yet subscribed, I'd really appreciate that, because it helps me figure out what it is you enjoy that I'm making. So there's going to be a little circle with a helicopter in it right there. And when it pops up, just go ahead and hit that thing so that I can keep delivering some more awesome thoughts on this sort of content, along with giving you guys some information about ways to prepare yourself for different situations we can encounter in life. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day.